Hey everybody, I'm Jacob. Welcome back to Forgotten Voices. Today we're going to be talking about the missing 411. David Paulides is an author, just a researcher. He was caught for a very long time, and he stumbled across what he calls the missing 411. It's a compilation of research that he's done for quite a few number of years. It's extremely interesting. Um, Throughout my own interest in stuff, I stumbled across it, and it is something huge. It's going on all over the world, and nobody's actually really talking about it. The government just refuses to say anything about it. Um, And he's the only one actually doing anything. He's researching, taking down notes. He's written 4 or 5 books, I believe, and a lot of mysterious disappearances. People being taken, and they appear miles away where it's virtually impossible for them to walk that far. Um, I'm going to let you do your own research on David Paulides because it is super interesting and definitely worth looking into. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the description so you guys can check it out. But today we're discussing my theory on what's going on with at least some of these people. Maybe not all of them, but a few of them. So I was listening to one of his videos.
Hey guys,
and
it's
this
me
scene
again. Sorry, there was a copyright
rather than me
issue.
just telling you guys about it,
So
I'm going to play it.
instead, I'll just say what the author and guest were talking about. So pretty much majority of the victims were males of college age, and they were smart, and a lot of them had scholarships for athletics or just regular scholarships, and they were of German descent. Again, this is his research. These are his words, not verbatim, but you can check out the clip and see it for yourself. I am just making a theory on what I think they.
There you go. German descent. Um, so I was thinking, just like the host goes on to say, how can that be? Um, if these incidents were truly random, that wouldn't be the thing. So I'm thinking if these people are being targeted. And yeah, that's kind of a loaded word, implying somebody's doing the targeting. But this is a pattern going on, it continues. So I believe in this instance, and maybe not all the cases, definitely not all cases, but for a few of them, or some of them, they are being targeted. And people of German descent in America are being targeted. And I think I have a theory on why that is. So let's continue. So when I was thinking about this, my thoughts were, okay, why German? Why not Hispanic? Why not Croatian? Why not Japanese? What's so special about German? Um, Not really anything, except for, Hitler was German. Well, Hitler wasn't German, but Hitler's strongly associated with Germany. If he really wanted to be German, he loved Germany, and he even fought for Germany in World War I, if I'm not mistaken. Let's talk a little bit about just how interesting and weird Hitler actually was. Obviously, he had some pretty messed up racial views, ideologies, and I'm just going to read this off for you guys. Hitler's racial ideology stemmed from what he called the basic principle of the blood. So, as a Christian, that really rings a bell because as a Christian, I believe there's power in the blood. And, we are saved by the blood of Jesus Christ. And not only as a Christian, but also as a quote unquote conspiracy theorist, I know several other people, groups of people, um, believe in the same thing you're talking about. In folklore, we have vampires, and then you have the elites going and supposedly drinking to stay young and all this stuff. So, um, yeah, Hitler was really into that. And, to me, that shows me that he at least knew something and he was somewhat connected to somebody that had some kind of information because it's not like it's not accepted in mainstream society, and that had to be a little bit of a cult influence, I believe he had. um, he goes on to say he really believed in the Aryan race. He said, to which all true Germans belong, was a race whose blood soul was the highest degree. He said that God created Aryans as the most perfect, both physically and spiritually. Since the blood contains specific spiritual energies, racial primal elements, as Hitler often called them, Aryans supply the culture that creates the beauty and dignity of higher humanity. So he believed Aryans were pretty much superior. I definitely don't agree with that, but that's Hitler for you. Um, and of course, he was staunch anti-Jew, um, which is, God's people. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Um, so of course he had a lot of crazy stuff going on in Germany during World War II and right before World War II. A couple of the things that he was into, um, he was into this breeding program. He had all these women and um, Nazis have kids to continue what he thought was the superior race. Um, Between 35 and 1945, the secret program encouraged racially fit women to bear children for the Reich, and protected babies thought to exemplify Nazi Germany's Aryan ideals. So we would have these kids be born, and they would take them, and the Nazis, the state of Nazi Germany, would actually raise them. And they would have more qualified, fit families raise these kids. Um, so that's what was going on in parts of Germany. So Hitler was deep into the occult. I believe he really wanted to discover or use the spear of destiny, the spear that supposedly pierced Jesus Christ when he was on the cross. He believed that it had magical powers, and so this publication is called Hitler and the Occult: The Magical Thinking of Adolf Hitler. Hitler saw himself as the supreme magician. He was obsessed with the spear of destiny. He said it had a talisman of power. The key to his power, in his view, was the world of cosmology and magic. In the Thule Society, we'll talk about that in a little bit, recognized Hitler as the Antichrist, who would eventually control the power of the lands. I didn't know this, but apparently he actually seized the lands and transported it to Nuremberg. Um, Ravenscroft, I think he was a doctor, clearly believed that Hitler wanted magical powers. So he was involved in some secret societies, he was involved in some occult um, and some occult stuff. Um, so the Thule Society is actually, well, I'll read this off for you guys. It is, apologies, a occult group with political agenda, was led by Rudolf von Stebendorf, a German commoner who had been adopted by nobility during after returning that stressed the racial superiority of the Aryans. So pretty much it was an occult group that really emphasized the racial superiority of the Aryans. So Hitler really had a deep connection to the occult. He had, and you guys can do, your own research on about that. There are several good documentaries out there. But I really wanted to draw the connection to Hitler and um, the, I'm sure you guys have seen this as well, the Nazi bell. It is a supposedly Nazi UFO that was being created during the last couple of years. I think a few people saw it, and this is what they supported, what they reported seeing. The main takeaway from this is I believe Hitler had contact with what, people or what he would say or what other people would say were aliens. Um, as a Christian, I don't believe that these beings might say they're aliens, but in all reality, they are, fallen angels, hybrids, and demons. And those are three distinct, separate beings, but I believe they're all masquerading as aliens. So Hitler had ties to the occult. Hitler, I believe, had ties to what he thought were aliens. And I had this really good, I saw this really interesting video. It was a gentleman, he was a counselor for abuse victims in satanic ritual stuff. And he had a lot of interesting conversations with the victims through many years. And he actually said that he believed Hitler actually actually made a deal with the devil. So during the last part of World War II, when things weren't going Hitler's way, he focused all of their resources on killing more Jews instead of, defending the war effort, fighting the war effort. He doubled down on killing more Jews. I believe, well, this gentleman here, I couldn't find the interview. I think it was removed, but he believes that Hitler, um, made a deal with the devil. If you take out so many Jews, that Hitler would actually be part of the lineage of the Antichrist. So, how am I going to tie all this to American descendants being taken? That brings me to Operation Paperclip. So, if you haven't heard of Operation Paperclip, it is a program by the end of World War II where 1,600 German scientists, engineers, technicians were taken from Nazi Germany. They were employed, they were taken to the US, they were given free pass. You did what you did. Here's some money. Here's a nice little job for you, and show us what you have. Basically, just pretty much just work for us. Werner von Braun, I believe, was part of it, and he was the father of modern rocketry, and that's where he said we get NASA from. So the U.S. really benefited from Operation Paperclip, from the Nazi German scientists and engineers and all that stuff. So it comes to um, what I'm trying to say is, so now you have all these Nazis. So Hitler, what he did, I if he had this deal with the devil, that would give a legal precedent to not Germans, to Nazis. And a lot of the Nazis, at least the higher ups, they were taken to America. So now you have all these Nazis in America who had descendants, and all of a sudden, these young, fit, smart, athletic, German descent young men are being taken. I believe that aliens are actually taking these because they have a legal right to do so from what Hitler did, his deal. So I've talked about this before, and this is just how things are. This is just the rules of the universe. Demons, they cannot just possess you. They need to have a legal right. They need to have permission. That's just one of God's rules, and they follow it. They have to follow it. They don't have a choice. But this is why it's so dangerous to do Ouija boards. This is why, yoga, we talked about that as well. They need legal reasons, specific legal authority, legal rights to do this, legal permission and legal right to do that. So these quote unquote aliens, or demons and hybrids and fallen angels, are taking descendants from, not from Germans, but from, well, they happen to be German, but Nazis, because they have the legal right. They had a contract with Hitler, who was the leader of Germany, but more specifically, he was the leader of the Nazis. So I would love to actually do a research and see if these people were missing were descendants of Nazis. I couldn't find anything to any of the specific people that I found, but that's what, that's my theory. And then lastly, I just wanted to mention David Paulides. He talks about smart people disappearing, like smart people, and people who are not so smart, not regular people. I'm talking about people, maybe, Asperger's symptoms, or people who are, so you have people on both sides of the spectrum, both sides super smart, and then, a little dumb. But they say two sides of the spectrum, but I believe it's more like a circle. So you have the average people in the middle, maybe your not so smart people over here, and then to your average people right in the middle, and your smart people, and then your genius people, and then you have your Asperger's and mental health stuff. So if you go back farther this way, you start getting into those savants that have really super crazy abilities to play the piano amazingly well, but can't do other stuff. So what they're going for is people with abnormal brain development, abnormal brain function. Those would be these people. So these people are being targeted. Yeah, so that's my theory on the missing 401. Like I said, check David Paulides' interviews, check out his books. Super incredibly amazing, super interesting. And that's it. Bye.